What's up, guys? Tonight we are talking horror and beer with Jony from the Jony Horror Show. Welcome to this episode of Blood Brews. Jony, you have a podcast, you have your own YouTube, you have your own following on Instagram. Tell us a little bit about Jony Horror Show.
Hey buddy, thanks for inviting me on. As always, it's always a pleasure to sit down and talk horror.
Very welcome.
Happy to be here on the show. We have the nothing is ever like one thing on my channel or show, whatever you want to call it. We have the Jony Horror Reviews, where I discuss either new movies that have come out, or we do retro reviews where I discuss old movies that maybe don't get enough love and I want to talk about and bring into the limelight. And then, yes, I do have a podcast or two. We have the Jony Horror Podcast, which is just very, very much we just pick a horror movie and discuss it, or a horror, franchise or trilogy, whatever, and we discuss that. And then we have the Johnny Jaws cast, which is, horror adjacent, where we talk about Jaws and films that have either been inspired by Jaws or directly rip off Jaws. The most recent film that me and my buddy Brian have discussed is Grizzly from 1976, which is a blatant ripoff of Jaws, and it's kind of incredible that the movie even got released, because it is beat for beat Jaws, just in a forest with a bear. So that's my channel, my show. That's what we're all about. Have a lot of fun doing all of that. So anytime you want to tune in, there's endless content always coming out. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, tonight I invited you here to talk mostly about 2024's upcoming films, what we're most excited for, what I'm looking forward to. I have about 3 that I really want to talk about or that I'm excited for. And then, just in case we have any that are matching, I have some other ones. I have some honorable mentions. And I also have something that we're definitely not going to talk about, which is the Crow reboot, okay? Bill Skarsgård replacing Brandon Lee. We're not talking about that, coming out in 2024.
That just they just gave that official date, didn't they? Just like a couple of days ago. It comes out like
right. It is not a horror movie. It's a Halloween movie. It happens on Devil's Night. I agree, there's a lot of killing, but it's an action romance, I don't know, maybe thriller. But to me, that's not a horror flick. Not the original one wasn't, and I'm really hoping the new one isn't. I'm 100% going to go see it regardless, even though I don't think Bill Skarsgård's going to be able to pull it off. I still need to watch it, and I'm hoping he does pull it off. But my gut is telling me, because I'm in such like a fanboy of the original, that nothing's going to be able to surpass it. What's your opinion? Just really quick, since we're not talking about this.
We're obviously not going to talk about it. I think, honestly, if anyone was going to be able to pull it off in this day and age, there's probably like 5 other people that I could think of that like I would put up for this role besides Bill Skarsgård. But Bill Skarsgård has a naturally likable quality to him that suits this anti-hero character.
Okay.
Not unlike the way Heath Ledger did, where he very much pulled from what Brandon Lee did in The Crow for his version of the Joker. If you have like this natural charisma, which I think Bill Skarsgård does, all the Skarsgårds kind of have this charisma about them. um, you know, having this guy who's, you know, arguably in the right for taking revenge, going out and killing all these bad guys, you still want to like him, and there needs to be a likability to this person. And I think even him as Pennywise in the It movies, you could still see that like he had this charisma, this charm about him that like he could do all these scary things, but you'd still like kind of laugh or smirk and kind of almost enjoy him doing that. So
He
I'm
pulled off
excited.
Pennywise for me. In my opinion too, like, and the way he was able to hold his eye, like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
how the hell do you train your eye to do that? I thought that was awesome when I heard
yeah,
that he actually did that. I thought
yeah.
like it
That
might have been like a contact or something, but
that he has the ability to do that. But also on the flip side, he does have a sinister nature to him that very much works for the intimidating factor. So I don't know. I'm not a like, believe it or not, I have never watched The Crow all the way through. I've always just seen it in pieces.
really, okay,
I think
okay,
it's got a beautiful production design and an interesting story, and obviously a very incredible final performance from Brandon Lee. And that whole film is shrouded in mystery and tragedy. But I know they're doing the 4K release sometime in May, I believe.
yeah.
They announced that this same week, so I think that might be my excuse to purchase the film and watch it in all of its glory before the remake drops. So
I'm hoping that they do a steel book because I'm definitely buying that.
I
But
think
yes,
I think that's what I read. That is a steelbook 4K. Obviously, we won't be getting it from Best Buy, but I'm pretty sure
fuckers,
that
damn
yeah,
it, Best Buy. I went in there
yeah.
the other day and they had like it was so down to nothing. It was just a bare
What
scratch.
a bunch of pussies is all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say it because, like, come on, gang. Like, you were like one of the last men standing. People went to you
Yeah,
for this stuff. Like, I never had a lot of luck at my Best Buy personally, but every now and then there'd be some gems there. And yeah, it is disappointing. That being said, we do live in a time where you can hop on um, screamfactory.com, or you can go to Arrow Video or Vinegar Syndrome, or any of these websites that have gone back and done these beautiful restorations of old films with great bonus content. We really do have like a lot of options at our disposal. So like, it's a bummer, but we also, there is no shortage of hard copy media out there for diehard fans who want to get a hold of this stuff still.
agreed. Although I am trying to find a copy of Martyrs online and I don't know what the hell the deal is. It's like $50. So I don't know how much of that is real because I just want a damn copy of it. That and what was the other one that I can't find? There's another one. If I think about it, I'll shout it out in the middle of the conversation.
Yeah,
But
just
I'm like,
if it
I
comes
can't
to
think,
you and I'm in the
right?
middle of like a very in-depth like discussion about this, that, or the other, just do a time and be like, oh, it was this thing. But anytime you want to come over, you let me know. I have Martyrs on DVD that was gifted to me for my birthday years ago, and I've only ever watched it once. I've been meaning to do a rewatch, but fuck me, man, that movie's fucked.
Now, was it the subtitled one or was it the remake?
No, it's the original. I have not seen
Okay,
the
cool.
remake. I don't necessarily feel like I need to, because typically with movies like that, they're more hardcore when they're foreign films. Like, American remakes usually do not go as hardcore as foreign films. So it's like, what's the point?
Agreed. All right. Well, What are you drinking tonight?
We grilled up some filet mignon and had some spinach, broccoli, potatoes, and my wife made these crispy zucchini strips with like Parmesan cheese on it. So naturally, we broke open a bottle of red wine. So that is currently what I am sipping on.
Where was my invite for that? I like filet mignon.
I
I like zucchini.
Well,
Like
been marinating
I like
for
food.
2 days.
I like food.
It was a hell of a meal, man. I was very, very pleased with it. It turned out great. I'll let you know the next time we do it, okay, buddy?
All right. Well, I'm having a beer called Thick Juicy Layer, and it's from Moonraker Brewing. It's a New England style. Oops, I can't even keep it in frame.
That is just like from the name to the artwork. Is that a peach on there, or is it?
It looks like a peach that's part skull, part peach.
Yeah, it's very sexual. Is it meant to be sexual?
It's 6.6% alcohol by volume, and right off the top, I'm gonna give that a 3 out of 5. I really like it. Probably would drink it again. It's very fruity, juicy, but it's more full-bodied to me. Not really bitter or hop. It's very juicy, like the flavoring of it. It's just kind of like, so it's good, but also feels heavier than it really is to me.
That sounds delicious, actually. I'm kind of jealous that I don't have one sitting right next to my wine. That sounds fantastic.
It's tasty. It's probably one of the closest to like an orange juice beer that I've had, but it isn't more like orange juice, but it's really close, and it's kind of missing the bitterness of a beer. So I think that's why I'm like giving it a little bit lower score, but it's good. It's good beer. So
nice. Hell yeah.
All right. So who's going first? You or me? I was gonna flip a coin, but I don't have one. So
you're the host. It's your call, man.
All right. I'll let you go first because you're the guest.
All right. Well, I figured we can just. I figure I'll save the one that I'm most excited for last. Right? Does that?
That sounds good. That's what I was going to try to do too, except for I'm really excited about a lot of these, so it's tough.
Yeah.
But well, yeah, let's do that. Let's try to aim for that.
Hopefully, you don't say the one that I'm most excited for, like for your first one, because
it's gonna be my first one.
Oh, but you know, we'll just go for it. I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. We're still gonna talk scary movies. It's fun. Okay, so out of my 3, 2 of these movies I know next to nothing about. My one that I'm most excited for, I know more about. But I've been getting into this habit of going into a lot more of these indie horror movies, or like smaller budget horror movies that are not. Sorry if you can hear my
it's okay. It added to the effect. I liked it. I was like, oh man, he's watching a movie right now.
Yeah, they're in there playing a video game or something like that, losing their minds. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of like, unless like a movie's like part of a franchise, like I don't really read into it much or know much about it. I've been going into a lot of these movies blind, which has been a lot more fun, in total honesty. So I would say that the first one that I'm really excited for, that I know next to nothing about, I have not watched the trailer. I've just heard that it looks really spooky, is Longlegs, the new film, starring Nicolas Cage and the gal from It Follows. I think her name's Micah Monroe. I hope I'm not messing up her name. I don't know anything about it. honestly, I know there's been multiple like videos released about it. I don't want to know anything about it. I just know that people say that it seems scary and unnerving, and beyond that, it's Oz Perkins directing, obviously
Yes.
son of Anthony Perkins of Psycho fame. Oz Perkins has done a couple of my I won't say favorite movies, but movies that I have legitimately enjoyed and loved, like the atmosphere and the vibe. The first one being Black Coat's Daughter, which came out a couple of years ago and deals with a girl remembering a sort of murder that takes place, and I don't want to say too much more about it because I think it would give away the plot. But the film was very, very good. And then he did the Hansel and Gretel film, which I think they just flipped, which was Gretel and Hansel a couple of years ago. And that film, while I think I have a couple of misgivings with it, just the vibe, the feel, the soundtrack, the symmetry of the shots, the production design, it's fucking bonkers how beautiful it is. So I don't
Just pause really quick because
yeah.
you brought that movie up. I was actually planning on doing a review of that movie coming up soon because I found a beer called like Witch House or something. But that movie, that's one of my favorite movies that has to do with that subject, like witches, right?
Yeah.
Is I thought that they did a really good job, and I don't feel like it was really talked about at all. Kind of came out and then disappeared. But everything you were saying, like about the music, and I actually really liked that movie.
I
So
like it a lot. I wanted it to lean more into I mean, I'll just fucking spoil it right here. So if you don't want to hear how this movie ends, fucking duck out for the next 5 minutes, I guess. But um
it's a
I
trip
wanted
to
a
me.
more what?
It's a trip to me though that it was PG-13 before you continue. Like
Yeah.
there's some of the scenes are like, oh shit, how is this being so I know that for a horror fan kind of turns some people away. For me, it kind of would be like a negative draw, like
Yeah.
PG-13. I want to see some shit, but it actually kind of shows a lot without, I guess, without showing a lot. But I thought it was pretty.
The almost the there's not like a lot necessarily a lot of like violence or anything like that, and it doesn't need to be because it's a very mood driven piece, which I respect. I'm a big fan of like let's just build dread and suspense, which that movie does very, very well. um I wanted the ending to be um I wanted the kids to die. I wanted the fucking like I know that there's as with Little Red Riding Hood, there are multiple versions of the story of Hansel and Gretel. Obviously, you know, there's the main one where the witch lures them in and then she's going to kill them, bake them, and then they push the witch in and they kill her instead. But then there's the darker version where the witch kills the kids. And because this was a full blown horror movie, I was like, dude, just fucking kill the motherfuckers. Let's go whole
Yeah,
hog with this. Um, that being said, the ending is a little bit more weird and a little bit more like psychological in you know, ethereal in ways that like you know suits the story. And that would probably be my really only big misgiving about the film.
it's very
But
dreamlike to me.
yeah, it's very like I think it would honestly I think it'd be a great like I think it'd make a great comfort film, a film to like fall asleep to because it is so dreamlike. It's so autumnal, you know. It just feels like a very like Halloween almost,
Oh yeah,
just the trees and everything. So
that
there's a
might be why I liked it.
yeah, it's just like it's more like a mood, a vibe, an atmospheric sort of thing rather than even like a story driven movie, you know? Um, and I think part of the reason that it failed is because of that, because it's not really an action heavy picture by any means.
Exactly.
Action as in like things happening, not necessarily like an action movie. But also,
People
this
need,
movie
yeah.
came out. Didn't it come out like February of 2020? Am I misremembering that? Because I feel like
I
it did.
I can't remember when it came out. I just know I need to get a copy of it for my physical collection.
Yeah, I
Going
I
back
do
to
too.
the
I still have
going
not.
back to the Best Buy conversation. They need to
Yeah,
bring but yeah, no, I really love that film, and I was looking for it the other day in my collection and realized I never bought it. I watched it in theater. So
yeah.
I was kind of disappointed when I didn't find it there.
I'm pretty sure it came out in February of 2020, and if that's is indeed the case, then it makes sense why it probably is not on a lot of people's radars, because there were much more grandiose things happening in the world at that time. So, um, but all of that said, yeah, I know we talked a lot about a lot more about
Everything else.
uh, Hansel or Gretel and Hansel than Longlegs. But again, like I said, I don't know anything about the film other than the people behind it, and then that fans are saying that it looks spooky and scary, and for me, that's enough. Like,
So
um,
the trailers that they're putting out in the beginning, the little teasers, they had like three of them, and they were
mhm.
kind of the first one was really far out, and then the last two were kind of close together, and it just was really creepy. And they had sounds, but you couldn't really tell what the sounds were, and there's like these weird ciphers and codes and stuff being on the screen that were just
Yeah,
flashing, and you couldn't see. So with this, I did kind of want to tell a brief description of the films. So don't hate me for this, Johnny. But Longlegs is supposed to be about FBI agent Lee Harker, and she is assigned to an unsolved serial killer case that takes unexpected turns. Wow, surprising. Um, Revealing evidence of the occult. So that was a very brief one. There were some other descriptions that were more in depth, but I kind of went with one that was very like,
no, and that's great. I mean, that in and of itself like doesn't really even tell me
yeah,
much other than that I'm hoping and praying that Nicolas Cage plays either the serial killer or the cult leader, like I or both, if they are one and the same, like that. I think that would be great. I think that would be a great sort of, like, he would fit that vibe very well, I think so. And it would be a turn for his character, or him, as his character in Mandy, where he goes for
man,
revenge against a cult leader. So that could be a fun twist
I
of things for sure.
I love Mandy. So I don't know, horror Nicolas Cage, they just go together for me, and it just as two after seeing like his movies earlier in his career, seeing these weird horror movies that he's come out and been put in, it was
Yeah,
just it's I love it. So um
absolutely.
my first pick was gonna be Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
It's a rated R. It's a horror comedy running 1 hour and 26 minutes, directed by Cameron Cairns and Colin Cairns. Not sure if I'm saying the last names correctly or not. It stars David Dasmalchian, Laura Gordon, and Ingrid Torelli. It's in 1977, a live television broadcast goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
just from the
Yes.
teaser that I've seen of this, I mean, that like gritty style of like, I don't know, it made me feel 80s, but maybe it made you feel different. Like the graininess of the TV screen and the late night talk show, and then like that scene of the girl kind of like,
Yeah. So, my understanding that I think it's supposed to be 70s, but like
okay,
I
That makes sense.
That is just what I heard from, this, that, or the other. But this is, again, one that I heard other people talk about, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm in. Like, I love the time period. I love the concept. I love, um, uh, it's period horror, which is arguably my favorite type of thing to do. Like, let's talk about, like, just briefly. I'll do an aside where, like, Prey, for instance, how you take the Predator concept and you put it in a different time period. Like, how well did that work, and how great is that? I love, like, modern horror movies that take place in modern day, like horror movies. They're substantially less exciting to me because you have things like cell phones, the internet, all
Yeah.
these ways to answer questions and call for help in ways that you don't have if you place these things in a different period. I love the idea of this. We don't see a lot of talk show things. Like, immediately my mind goes to Joaquin Phoenix Joker film, because that has is very much centered around, like, talk show things, and the final act of the film deals with talk show stuff that goes horribly wrong on air, and you know
Yeah.
it's horrific, and makes for a very dynamic storytelling. I was already in on this. Like, I'm already want to see it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I didn't need to see any promotional material. I've seen the poster. It looks great. I'm here for it. So when the trailer came out, I was very excited. I was like, oh, cool, this movie. And I was like, you know what, Johnny, you're already gonna watch it. Don't even fuck with the trailer. Don't even bother with it, because you're already gonna watch it. So, like, why spoil anything? So I didn't watch the trailer for that one either. So hi, son. It wouldn't be a podcast with me if my kid made a big appearance. He's stark naked though, so he can't be on TV.
Uh-oh.
You
We'll
just want
blur
to
it
say hi
out.
and go back to your mom. Go ahead, say hi. No, 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 no. Here, just say hi.
Hi.
Say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
All right, say goodnight.
Nah.
Good night.
Go on, get. So anyways, yeah, that
Well,
movie was, like, really cool to me, and I'm already dialed in. It was actually my runner-up for if you said one of my three. So now I'm really fucked if you say my my other one before I get to it.
well, I'm really excited because it's David Dasmalchian, and he's already done The Last Voyage of the Demeter. He was in. He
Mm-hmm.
was in Boogeyman, Big Boogeyman, or I think it was The Boogeyman,
It's
and then
the
he was in The Strangers. He's been in some horror awards, and then he's also has like a horror comic. So it's like
yeah.
he's literally has his hands so much in the horror genre right now that just seeing what he's going to come up with next. And I know that he's super into like the old school monsters, werewolf, Dracula, Frankenstein type of thing, that I'm hoping he does something else in the future that follows that path.
I'm really excited for him as well, because for a long time, I mean, like, I know I've seen him in stuff before, but, like, the thing that immediately pops in my mind is his, um, psychotic character in The Dark Knight, and he has that very small role in that. And he just and I've always just seen him pop up and stuff, and pop up and stuff, and it's just
Yeah.
been more and more frequent. Like you said, he's really kind of made a name for himself in the horror community. Not only is he in all those movies that you just listed off, but he's also made appearances on, the incredible In Search of Darkness documentary series, where he's a talking head on that. He's shown up on Joe Bob. So it's not like he's just being kind of barricaded in these roles because he has a unique look and vibe about him, but you can tell that he is clearly passionate about the genre, which
Yeah.
anytime you get someone who gets dialed into the horror genre and they're acting in horror movies, but they're on the flip side they're talking about how their favorite scary movies they used to watch when they were kids and how they're passionate about the genre. Like, horror fans go fucking bananas for that shit. We get so excited that someone in the movie industry is as passionate about the stuff as we are, because
Oh yeah.
for a lot of people I feel like it's just a job and they get kind of pigeonholed in it. But when someone loves it as much as we do, we fucking eat that shit up,
Agreed. All right. Well, I guess we're on film 3, right?
No, we're on 2 because we've
Okay.
each done
If we're counting it like each one of ours, then yes.
or we're going from 3 to 1, right?
We each have 3.
So we've each done 1. So we're on. No matter which way you swing it, we're on 2.
Yes. Agreed. We're on 2 then. Got it.
All right. The next film that I'm most excited for is a foreign film, again, that I know very little about. They just released a trailer for it, and surprise, surprise, I have not watched the trailer because I'm already in, based on the description. It's called Sting, and it's about killer spiders. I love me good monster movies, man. Obviously,
Did you happen to catch a rating on that? Because I remember watching the trailer and I know what movie you're talking about, but I'm trying to remember if there's a rating.
I have not caught a rating, but from everything that I've heard, that it's supposed to be like arachnophobia, except like hardcore. So
Hoping for a rated R.
I would be very surprised if it got anything less than an R rating. I've just seen the poster and I love the poster of the girl in focus, like lying in bed, and then in the background, out of focus, this big ass spider on the roof. I think that's great. I'm curious, like the title Sting makes you think of something more along the lines of like bees.
Yeah.
So obviously spiders have bites, and I think some of them have little things that pop out of their behind to sting. I believe. I don't know much about arachnids, but giant monster, like oversized animals that are attacking people is my fucking jam. So honestly, there's a very, very solid chance that I will be reviewing that movie on the Johnny Jaws cast, because I do feel like it does fall in line with Nature Gone Wild, which is the basis of Jaws. So again, beyond the premise of just giant spiders attacking people, I know nothing about the film, because that's enough for me, and I'm fucking excited for it.
It's a good choice. That's a good choice. All right, my number 2. This is a tough one. I think I'm gonna have to go with The Wolfman. It's supposed to come out October 25th, 2024. It's a horror thriller directed by Leigh Whannell. The cast is Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner. The brief description that I was able to find was a man and his family who have been scared to death by a deadly predator. And that's all I was able to really dig up on this. I am kind of nervous because I feel like the Wolfman's already been redone, and I really liked the last remake. So I don't see them being able to dent that unless they do it in a whole different way and make it like current times. But we'll see. What do you think about that?
I've been excited for this movie for a long time. Back when Ryan Gosling was supposed to play the part, I'm actually really excited that as much I fucking love Ryan Gosling. I fucking love Ryan Gosling, but I'm really excited that he's not attached anymore. Because he's too charismatic. He's too likable. And while I know he can do a lot of good work in as far as playing complex characters, you know, you can see Drive or Only God Forgives as examples of the more darker, complex characters he can play. He's just so fucking beautiful and likable that it's hard to see him as this absolutely tragic man that has no control over these outbursts. Now, Christopher Abbott, on the other hand, just the look of him, the vibe of him, everything about him lends itself to a man who has no control over himself. I think a great performance from him is in Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor, which I think is just so incredible. And I'm really excited that if Leigh Whannell is still indeed directing, and I don't know how far into production they are or what's going on with that, because it's one of those things where like you hear that, oh yeah, so and so is directing, and then the other person is not in it anymore. Oh no, they came back and this, that, or the other. So it's like one of those things where it's like, I want a magic pumpkin that hands me beers too. But if this film does indeed come to fruition this year, I will be very, very excited because I thought The Invisible Man was a fucking incredible film. And even more so, Upgrade that had Daywalker. Dude, that's just a fucking cool ass. All these cans that you find, they're always so beautiful.
I try to get like horror type themed, but anyway, I agree with you on the Wolfman. I'm glad that Ryan Gosling kind of fell back. The one thing that scares me is that it's going to become a low budget picture, is my fear. And it might go directly to streaming service. Not that I'm not going to still be excited to see it. That's my one concern with it now, because it seems like it's kind of a tight thing for them just having him come on as the lead, correct? Kind of.
Here's the thing. I think Universal's pretty smart. I really think Universal is actually really smart with how they do their releases and stuff, with the exception of maybe kind of how they went about Halloween Ends. I think that could have just been a full in theater release, but I got to sit and watch that at home, so I was very, very happy about that. But I don't think. I think that given particularly Leigh Whannell's track record, Upgrade did very well. The Invisible Man did very well. His Insidious 3 before that did very well. I mean, the man has not really missed as far as his directing efforts are concerned.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
I would love to see a modern take of the Wolfman. Like, I don't think we've actually ever seen that, at least that specific story. We've seen, werewolf updates, but honestly, I can't think of like a good solid werewolf movie that has taken place in present times. There always seems to be some sort of different thing thrown in, whether it's like futuristic, something like along the lines of like Underworld, where maybe it's like, not necessarily futuristic, but it's like a whole different world separate from ours. Or, you could have something like Wolf Cop that has like a grindhouse vibe to it.
I love those movies.
I love Wolf Cop. I think it's great. But to see like just a standard modern day retelling of the Wolfman, I think would be very, very interesting, and I very much look forward to that being told. So, yeah, I'm here for it.
All right. What's your number 2?
Well, no, this would be my number 3. How drunk are you, anyways?
Not very much yet. I'm trying to get myself there. I'm trying to get juicy.
Trying to get juicy. Oh man, my number 3 and or number 1, the movie I'm most excited for this year is without a doubt Terrifier 3.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I have been a fan of Art the Clown since I saw All Hallows Eve back in 2015, I believe. And that scared the piss out of me. And then a couple of years later, I believe it was 2017, I believe, is when the original Terrifier released. And I remember being so excited, ordering the Blu-ray. We had friends come over that night. They had absolutely no idea what they were in for. My wife and I had a general idea, having seen All Hallows Eve and loved it, but our friends just had zero idea, and we threw on Terrifier, and they were fucking mortified, and we were laughing our asses off because we loved the movie, and then we loved seeing their reactions to the movie. And then a couple of years later, when Terrifier 2 came out, we have a bunch of theaters all around us, and none of them were playing Terrifier 2, so we had to go to a slightly seedier location to go watch Terrifier 2, which suited the movie, to kind of go to this grungier theater, kind of off the beaten path. And Terrifier 2 was my favorite movie of whatever it was, 2022. So like, I love, the more I think about it, and I've thought about it a lot in the last couple of months, but like my favorite, probably if I had to really pinpoint my favorite genre, my favorite subgenre of horror, it's probably 80s slashers. And Terrifier is, a modern day 80s slasher. Art the Clown is our Freddy Krueger for our generation. And I love that all of those movies have taken place in and around Halloween, and the only way to fucking make it better is to have it take place on Christmas, because Christmas horror is arguably the best type of horror in my personal opinion. I love Christmas horror movies. I think they inch out Halloween horror movies. Like, I just think Christmas horror movies are so much fun because they're always very tongue in cheek, I feel like, because a lot of times people, you can make a dark Christmas horror movie and they're very bleak and they're not nearly as fun. But if you do a Christmas horror movie right, it's very tongue in cheek. Like, we're taking all of the beautiful lights and everything and finding different ways to kill people, like stringing them up by Christmas lights, or stabbing their eyes out with a fucking sharpened candy cane. It's all just very silly, and I can't wait to see what the fuck Art gets up to in a Santa Claus suit. So I'm so excited for that movie.
I'm also excited for that. It comes out October 25th. It's a horror crime, and obviously it's directed by Damien Leone. I just love the fact that it's like it has an old school feel to it. Yeah. Again, it has that gritty, I don't know if it's the way it's filmed is just grittier, or it's got the little things in the picture, or it's the score or the freaking soundtrack. That I loved the last one though. That was awesome to me. And then
Yeah,
the practical effects. I mean, I love those practical. They're just so much fun, and there's some that are like a little bit over the top and not so believable, but then there's others that sell it so perfect that you're like, I just find myself trying to break it apart, and it's like I'm like, oh my god, this just looks really good. So
and that was actually a trailer that I watched, because it's a beautiful teaser trailer that probably has nothing to do with like the act. Like it's something that they filmed specifically as a teaser trailer, because I know it's
yeah,
not part of the movie. And that teaser trailer sold it for me so hard, because it was like, it felt like one of those 80s Christmas slashers. It felt like a promotion for Silent Night, Deadly Night, or um I don't know, like Christmas Evil. Like it had like those Christmas horror movies of the 80s. They have this weird like haze over the film where everything's like has like a foggy brightness to it. Everything's like very like ethereal and almost like angelic in the way that it's shot, and the lights and everything. It's like has this weird like haze over it. And that teaser looked just like that. It looked like it was pulled straight from an 80s television set, like, sometime at like 9 o'clock at night, when, hopefully the kids had gone to bed, and, they just got done showing Gremlins or some shit like that on the TV, and they were just, playing a trailer for it. Like, it just feels of that time in a way that excites me so much. So I'm really, really, yeah, it's my most anticipated film of the year for sure.
I'm literally looking forward to that a lot as well. All right. Well, my top pick is gonna be Nosferatu, coming out in December 25th, 2024. It's a horror mystery directed by Robert Eggers and stars Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, Lily Rose Depp as Ellen, and Willem Dafoe as the professor. And when I first heard that Willem Dafoe was going to be a part of this, I just immediately thought, oh, he's going to be Count Orlok, right? But no. So I don't know why my mind just immediately went to him being in that. And then when I heard they were going to do Bill Skarsgård, it kind of threw me. But the film is about an ancient Transylvanian vampire that stalks a haunted young woman in the 19th century Germany.
Yes.
So I don't know. I'm really pumped about that one. I'm hoping they do it justice.
So I just watched the Werner Herzog remake of Nosferatu a couple of weeks back. It is my intent to sit down and watch the original, because I've never done that, and it's actually kind of probably one of the biggest black spots on my card as a horror fan. There's tons of horror movies I still haven't seen, but the fact that I haven't seen the original Nosferatu, which is, one of the original like horror movies. I mean, for Christ's sake, it's a silent picture. Is really something that I have not been able to forgive myself for. But it's also like, I got to be in the right mind frame to sit and read this movie, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mind. I don't mind foreign films at all, but like it is like there's no one's talking, like there's no sound of people talking. Like you're like reading, you know, cards basically. So, all of that said, um, the story is, for all intents and purposes, it's Dracula. That's what the
Oh
story
yeah, for sure.
because that's what the original film is based off of. Even Werner Herzog's interpretation of it, he gives all the characters the names from the book. Like they're all like, you have Jonathan, and the Count's name is Dracula and shit like that. So you know, it, I'm very excited to see what God, why I'm totally blanking right now. What's his
No
name?
worries. Robert Eggers or Bill?
Yeah, Eggers. I'm very excited to see what he does with this, because that's what's exciting about this to me, is like, I don't need another Dracula movie. Like, having another Dracula movie is having like another porn movie. Like, all right, cool. There's a million out there.
There's
We don't
100
need
of them. Yeah.
But like, if you do something different that I haven't seen before, that could be really cool.
Exactly.
So it'll be very, very interesting. I know my buddy Kalen that I do my podcast with. This is his most anticipated film of this year. So I think it's gonna be great. I think things really have to go wrong for it to not be great, for sure.
Agreed.
What about this film excites you the most? Because I know you, at the end of the day, are a diehard, like Universal monster horror fan. Like, you love all the OGs.
For me, I don't know if it's necessarily Universal horror monsters, but it's werewolves and vampires specific, like that type of stuff on film, with throw in a bunch of gore and I'm sold.
Yeah.
You throw in a good, and that's what I'm still kind of waiting for whoever to make, is a really good gritty werewolf flick. You know what I mean? That's what I want.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if I could just have what I want perfectly set out, it'd be a werewolf movie, just having a werewolf just rip through motherfuckers left and right, and I would be the happiest person ever. So well, all right, so I guess we're on to honorable mentions. These are ones that didn't really make our top 3, but we are excited for. But before I get to that, I wanted to say why I kind of wanted to talk to you about this and not anyone else, is because of the fact that I knew you weren't going to pick the Beetlejuice, the A Quiet Place 3, the what was it, there's another one, the Ghostbusters movie, the one that everybody, I mean, I get it, I'm going to go see those. I'm not saying I'm not excited about seeing those films. I'm just saying they're not at the top of my list, and I'm not trying to just people please out there, right? It's like, I actually want to see some stuff that, like you said, is more independent kind of feeling, and like might be a little bit like you don't know what to expect from it. So again, thank you for accepting my invitation, because I knew you were not going to just do that.
Well, I'll accept your invitation any day of the week. Are you kidding me, man? This is always
Thank
a fucking
you.
blast. And B, yeah, I kind of had that thought, particularly with seeing the backdrop here. I was like, oh yeah, none of those movies with the one that like I was gonna like, had I been pushed into a corner, I would have said the Quiet Place, because I like both the Quiet Place movies quite a bit, and this one looks like an all out just like disaster film, as opposed to the other ones that are much more like thrillers. This one like looks like, holy shit, everything's going to hell, in a very fun and exciting way. So that is probably the film, like, out of the trailers that I've seen and everything, because I've watched the trailers for we haven't got a Beetlejuice one yet. Don't know why. Come on, let's just give us the fucking trailer already. But for the Ghostbusters and A Quiet Place, like both those movies looked super duper fun to me. I'm really like really excited for this new Ghostbusters one because I feel like the last film was much more in line with all of the stupid fucking uh expression legacy sequels. I maybe I'm tired of legacy sequels, so I don't like calling films legacy sequels, but like this seems like it has a little bit more originality to the story, where Ghostbusters Afterlife was very much a soft reboot remake of the original film. If you look at A, B, and C,
I am excited to see them all come back, though.
yeah,
In this next one, oh my God, seeing Bill Murray and all suited up, and the assistant lady, I can't remember her name at the moment, so I apologize for that. But
yeah,
from the
I'm
original,
right there with you. Like, I mean, I've always enjoyed Ghostbusters, but by no means is it like I would never put Ghostbusters in my top 50, probably not even my top 100 horror movies of all time. Like,
yeah.
it's fun, it's enjoyable, but it does um it's just not important to me, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. Like,
It doesn't
it's
get
not
you going.
scary, and the humor is okay for
Yeah.
me. But they're fun. They're fun movies, so I will give them that. And at the end of the day, like that's pretty much all I want out of movies in this day and age, is just to be entertained.
Same.
But as far as like other runner-ups go, like what are like probably if you had to pick a number four, like a solid number four, what would your number four be?
We're talking Salem's Lot. It's a horror thriller, rated R, running 1 hour and 53 minutes, and it was set to be released in September 9th of 2022 from Warner Brothers. Now, just several days ago, depending on when I put this out, it might change a little bit. It might be a week. But Stephen King calls out Warner Brothers on Twitter. And yeah, so I'm really hoping for a 2024 release date. I'm going to read this Twitter post that he just posted like a couple days ago. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I'm aware of the situation. Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Between you and me, Twitter, I've seen the new Salem's Lot and it's quite good. Old school horror filmmaking, slow build, big payoff. Not sure why WB is holding back. Not like it's embarrassing or anything. Who knows? I just write the fucking things. And that was Stephen King's comment on Twitter. And I was just like, oh my God, if that doesn't sell the movie right there, just that kind of little bit of drama, to me, it's just like that like made me want to see it even more. So
yeah, I know it's been shelved. That happened with when David Zaslav took over Warner Brothers, and by all accounts, he's done 99.9% of things to fuck over the people that worked on films, shelving like the Batgirl movie that was essentially completed, and doing all this stuff that essentially put money in his own pocket. The one good thing he did was taking Evil Dead from strictly streaming and putting it in theaters, because say what you will about Evil Dead Rise, but I do think it is a film that was best served to be seen on big screen.
agreed.
I would love to see the new Salem's Lot. I don't. It looks very bleak at this stage in the game, but how many times have we gotten to the second half of the year and then we realize we're getting this movie, and this movie, and this movie, and so like when we're having this discussion, there's a ton of other movies that are probably going to come out this year that we don't even know about right now, and that could end up, changing the game.
Exactly. That's what I'm wondering, like, what's going to be coming out in the next week or so that we're going to hear about. That's like coming out of left field, completely just, I'm looking forward to those movies too.
And I mean, I got to be honest, like, had there been different franchises, like when we were having our, off mic discussions about, like, all right, cool, we're going to talk about, upcoming horror movies for 2024. Like, I had to go and look, and I looked, and I was like, oh man, it's like, generally speaking, it's slim pickings this year. Like last year, there was so much more to choose from. Even at the start of the year, we knew we were getting a new Evil Dead film. We knew we were getting a new Scream film, and it had any of those. Like, I mean, dude, if like a new Friday the 13th film was coming out, or a new Nightmare on Elm Street film was coming out, that shit would have been at the top of my fucking list, because those are franchises that I'm really, really excited for. I gotta be honest, like, I'm gonna go see it. I'm excited for it, but like, if I never got another Beetlejuice movie in my life, I would not have given a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be. I love Michael Keaton. I think that's the thing that is most exciting to me, is not that I get to see Beetlejuice again, but that I just get to see Michael Keaton again doing his thing. Like, that was my big thing last year with Flash. I was like, dude, I just want to go see Batman again. I want to go see Michael Keaton's Batman kick ass one more fucking time.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And watching him in Batman, it was like, that like gave me like, oh my gosh, like I got the chills just watching those scenes with him. Oh yeah, I fucking love that.
Rad, man.
Yeah.
He's so good. I love Michael Keaton so much that I'm like,
just really quick, what'd you think about that kitchen scene when he had the long hair? That was fucking awesome.
It's one of those things where, like, it's silly in all the right ways, I
liked it.
It is befitting. It is befitting that world and that environment and that story that they're telling. Do I think, like, when I watch 1989's Batman, that's the Batman I'm going to see later? But no. But this is a timeline difference thing, and I am a defender of the Flash. I thought that was actually a pretty interesting and complex superhero movie that not enough people gave a chance. So, and particularly, like I said, the Batman character was just beautiful. Like, give me more Michael Keaton. I don't care what that man does. I'm here for it. He could make a 2.5-hour picture about him taking a shit on the toilet, and you know what? I would go and see that in a heartbeat.
Well, with all that being said, one of my other honorable mentions was going to be Beetlejuice 2. Mainly because of Michael Keaton. I mean, you got Michael Keaton in it. You got Winona Ryder. You have Jenna Ortega that's going to be in there. It's a horror comedy directed by Tim Burton, which I love a lot of his movies. And that comes out September 6th, 2024. And I don't know. I'm pumped about it mainly because of the Michael Keaton character. And I think that's probably the main draw for me as well. I know Jenna Ortega is kind of like the big thing in horror right now. But for me, Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder and their combo is what's really dragging me. And just trying to go back to that world and see what they come up with creatively. I'm hoping for something good and not super cheesy. I know sometimes when they do this, it like ends up being way too cheesy. I'm just hoping it ends up being like good, and it's
Well, at least by all accounts, from Michael Keaton, there's a lot more practical stuff going on behind the scenes. He said there was a lot of wire work and stuff like that, and it wasn't just a bunch of green screen. So that right there is hopeful. Um, um, I think Beetlejuice is such a singular movie in a singular style that if you tried to introduce CGI in a big way, much like Burton did with, his Alice in Wonderland films, like you've already lost your audience right there. So it changes the way that movie feels. So I think because that movie has such a significant feel and vibe that is grounded in practical effects and stop motion, that like you can't not do those things. You have to do those things. Otherwise, you are going to alienate the people that love that movie to begin with, and if you do that right out the gate, then you've already lost. So that doesn't even get into whether or not you're telling a good story. Your film has to look and feel like it still takes place in that same world right out the gate, otherwise you're fucked. So fingers crossed that they at least get that part right, and then you can deal with whether or not the story is worth telling. I will say I do have one honorable mention that is a franchise that we have not talked about, and I don't have high hopes for it, but I thought the trailer was really fucking cool.
Let's go. Do you need a drum roll?
The vibe that I'm getting for it is very demented in all the right ways, and that is the first Omen.
Oh, shit. Yes. Okay.
I liked that whole backwards, everything that trailers like moving backwards and shit like that. And it goes, and essentially the vibe I'm getting from the trailer is that the Catholic Church brings about the birth of the Antichrist to make it so people believe in God, like more, because they have this anti thing to scare people to believe in God. And that's the vibe I'm getting. And if that's
okay,
that they're going to tell, that is all kinds of fucked up. And I'm here for that because I think the Catholic Church is all kinds of fucked up. So that is just a story that I'm like, yeah, I buy that. The Catholic Church is so fucking disgusting to me in every way, shape, and form that please, for the love of God, somebody please make them the villains already. Like, please. And all these like demonic, like, possession films, the Catholic Church always comes in and, power of Christ compels you. Like one movie gets away with that, and that's The Exorcist. The rest of them, fuck you guys. So that if they can tell a good, compelling story, I'm very excited for that. I don't have high hopes because the original Omen, actually, you know what? Most of the Omen films are from really good to okay. Like the second Omen film is highly entertaining, has one of the most laughably bad death scenes I've ever seen, and in the best way possible. And Sam Neill is really great in The Omen 3, with all of my misgivings with that film. I have not seen the fourth one. I own it. I have not watched it. And the remake has Liev Schreiber, who I think is the fucking bee's knees. So I think the Omen franchise has a decent track record, and I'm actually pretty excited for this new one. So that's my runner up, if you will.
I'm definitely gonna go see it. I didn't really get that much of an exciting vibe from the trailer. I got kind of like it looks like it might be a little bit slow paced, which isn't always a bad thing as long as it has like the right type of, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you look at, all of the Omen films, none of them are particularly action driven. I mean, they are mystery films. They are slow burns. And I like a good slow burn. Again, like I said, part of like what I like in a horror film is to build the sense of dread, to make me afraid to see what's behind the door. One of the best scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie was the original Conjuring, when the two girls are alone in the bedroom and one of them says there's something behind the door and it's looking at us, and you as an audience member don't see it, but they build up the suspense so much that I was legitimately squirming in my seat saying, I don't want to see it, whatever it is. Do not show it to me because I don't want to see it. And that right there, if you can do that, then like you've won me over. That is horror filmmaking at its finest. So like, yeah, bring on the dread.
With that being said, I feel like maybe that's my needing to do some research on the Omen films, because I'm not 100% that I've seen any of them. I want to say I've seen at least the first one, but I don't remember it enough to say for sure if I have or not. So I need to do my homework on that. As far as you touched on The Exorcist, just like a really quick 3 words, if you had to, about Exorcist Believer, since it's the newest one to come out.
3 words is hard. If I was a little bit more sober and had a little bit more prep time.
I'm looking for a very positive or a very negative. That's why I'm like.
I think I'm not going to be able to stick to your 3 words, but I will keep it brief. I think it's a fine film. I do not understand the hate beyond the fact that it is, quote, an exorcist film. I think the film's weakest attributes are its exorcist ties. I don't think Chris McNeil needs to be in the film whatsoever. It serves no purpose. I think the story in and of itself of 2 girls going into the woods and getting possessed and then coming back, and families from different backgrounds having to deal with that and come to terms with that, is actually an interesting story. And I think it was told in a very very acceptable way. The filmmaking, the film looks good. It's edited fine. I wouldn't say it's terribly scary, though there is some scary imagery happening there. I think had it been under a different brand, this film would have been much more positively received. I think its weakest attribute is that it is at the end of the day an exorcist film and not a possession film. So that's my thoughts on it. I bought the film. I like the film just fine. As far as the Exorcist franchise goes, it is hardly the weakest link.
I fell asleep in the theaters watching it, and but I also purchased because I know that there's a lot of quality scenes to the movie, and so I bought it so that I could rewatch it. I still haven't rewatched it, but yeah, I was kind of surprised that I fell asleep in the theater watching it. So I don't know what that says. Maybe I was just tired that day. I don't know, but yeah.
Hey, I know I'm in the minority with that, and I'm not gonna sit here and say it's a great movie by any means. My argument for possession films has always been, I would make one if I was given the opportunity, and the only reason I would make one is because I would take everything the Exorcist did, and I would go 3,000,000% harder in every way, shape, and form. And that's the reason that every possession film has never been as good as The Exorcist, because no one has ever tried to go harder.
No one wants to test it.
Scarier. They've never done more terrible or disgusting things to a human being. The Exorcist is the king because no one has ever tried to top it. No one has ever done anything better or scarier than what's been done in The Exorcist. So it's like, if you're not going to do that, then why would you even bother making a possession film? You have to make it better. You have to make it scarier. You have to make it darker. You have to make it more fucked up. And no one has even attempted that. So they always fall flat.
Agreed. All right. Well, damn. I want to say we covered most of the films. I mean, we've even talked about some of the films we're not supposed to talk about.
Like a pro.
But yeah, man. Thanks again for joining me tonight to talk about these.
Anytime, buddy.
Our top 3 most anticipated. And to everyone watching, if you're still watching at this point, we appreciate you watching. This is Johnny from the Jony Horror Show. I'm Albert, Blood and Brews. Thank you again, and have a very good night.